Thank you so much, Graham. Very interesting indeed, but we're sticking to all things nature at the moment. Now, created around 18 million years ago, the Great Barrier Reef is the only living structure visible from space. That's incredible. Now, sadly, the last 2 years have seen about 2/3 of this incredible reef getting harmed, and some researchers even say that there's very little chance of it recovering. Now, this morning, we welcome back into studio ocean conservationist and journalist Mike to chat about the recent development and findings. Dude, how are you doing, brother, man?
Very well,
nice to see you. Nice to see you. Listen, I'm sorry we get to talk about, we get to talk about something amazing, but very sad at the same time. But I mean, why is this Great Barrier Reef so unique, such a unique living structure?
Well, I mean, first of all, we're looking at something that's about 2,500 kilometers in length. But if you look at the hectares, it's 34 million hectares.
Oh, wow.
That's 70 million football fields. So it's a large area. And, this gives rise to habitat diversity and function to over 9,000 species, 1,500 of which are fish alone. So that's just what we know about. So it's a phenomenal system. It's exceptionally diverse, and that diversity is the spice of life. So it really is an incredible system.
And I can understand why. I mean, the world is focusing on this and, draws people from all over, all corners of the globe to come and watch it and come dive there as well. But listen, what has been happening to the reef? How far gone are we? I know that there's talks of bleaching as well.
Correct. So what actually happens is the coral reef's made up of little polyps called zooxanthellae. And these little guys take the calcium and the carbonate ions from the water and form this coral reef that we see, the structure from space. That's the hard bit of the coral. But the problem is when water temperatures rise, and not just for a little bit, but for sustained periods, these zooxanthellae can't keep up. It's like it gets hot in summer, you get out of your house, go to the beach. When it gets cool, you come back in. The same thing happens here. And when they leave, you see that white bleach structure behind, and that's what scientists and researchers refer to as coral bleaching. It doesn't mean the coral's dead. It just means temporarily it's basically damaged to a point where it's not functioning in its ecosystem and doing its role. So if conditions get better, it can improve and it can grow back. But if the continuous warming happens over longer periods of time and more frequently, we'll start seeing these corals never recover and the algae taking over, and that's a problem.
That is rather sad. Let's talk about the knock-on effects that something like this will have, not only for the marine life, but I think for tourism as well, not only, once again, Australia, but global.
Yeah, for sure. In Australia, it's about $6 to $8 billion Aussie dollars, that tourism industry, with over 2 million people visiting the reef. So service provision, diving provision, yes, it's got to be a big knock-on effect economically. When you look at the global context, we're looking at 20% of the coral reefs already been damaged to a point of no return around the world. And scientists estimate that the functionality of reefs, both economically and environmentally, is worth $375 billion US dollars. So if we start meddling with that, the repercussions will be felt socially, culturally, and economically. And in Africa, we depend on it in East Africa, particularly for food security.
Absolutely, man.
So there's a big challenge there too.
Look, I know this might sound like a silly question, but I mean, is there anything that can be done to help it, to try and help it recovering from our side, specifically as individuals?
Absolutely. I mean, there are things we can do immediately, and there's long-term things we can work on. So immediately, it's about, let's not harvest all the fish. Let's reduce the overfishing capacity. When we take the diversity out, we decrease its resilience to handle these changing temperatures. We need to invest heavily in alternative energies and renewable energies because it is us. We mustn't be arrogant enough to think that we're not having an effect on the climate and the climate's not changing. We can't do that. It's a global context. It's a problem that affects us all ultimately. 25% of all marine life relies on the coral reef for its survival. So it's about being proactive today, acknowledging climate change, investing in alternative energy, and stop, be considerate of pollution and overfishing and those attributes.
That's it. Mike, thank you very much for coming through, giving us a bit of an update. It is really, really sad, but I mean, just looking at those pictures, I can see that why, people are flocking there. I want to go there as well, but like Mike said, what we do look to help towards, big companies, maybe even government, but at the end of the day, it all starts with you.